On It's a Boot Life this month, I'm going to talk about counters and how to create counters for cowboy boots. I get a lot of questions from people asking about how counters for cowboy boots work, what material they should be made of, how they should be skived, how they should be sewn in. And so I'm just going to show you how I create a counter for a cowboy boot. But before I do that, I do want to apologize. I took off the last couple of months and I did not do a YouTube video for the month of November or December, in case you noticed. I was just tired, and I was too tired to even create a video telling you I was tired and taking November and December off. I received an email from someone recently and he said something like, "I hope you and your team have a happy new year." And I was just thinking, me and my team, it's only me. I guess before I start, I should explain what a counter is. So the counter is the hard piece of leather that goes around the heel of a boot or a shoe. In a cowboy boot, it's a really strong piece of leather. I use sole bends to cut out my counters. The part inside the boot that wraps around your heel is called the counter, and the part outside, the decorative piece that you see, is the counter cover. We're not going to do counter covers today, we're only going to do counters. The main thing that's different about my counters compared to other cowboy boot makers is I have different sizes of counters. And what I like about having different sizes of counters is I always know how much excess I have. I've cut out some counters here. Again, they're cut out of sole bend, so it's a nice chunk of leather here. So now I've skived top and bottom. You do not want to run corners through a 5-in-1 because it will eat the corners. So I'm going to turn it sideways to where the corner is not going through, and then I'm just going to rotate it around so you end up, see that kind of half circle there? Here's another angle of me skiving a counter. So I've skived top and bottom. So the corner's out here, it's not going through and under there. Corner's out here, feed it in, twist it out. All right, we have the counters skived on the back side with the 5-in-1. And now we're gonna just even out and correct this skiving and make sure everything's perfect. The goal is for this bottom part to be flexible enough to wrap up over the insole. And then up here, I want that thin enough that the post machine is going to go through it. It's not paper thin. And then the edges, I'll just even them up and put a nice skive on it, but I'm not too worried about the edges because it's going to be trimmed later. So I will go back later from the top and just lightly even up that edge if I need to. I do the final shaping and skiving on a sander because this is really heavy leather. And I've put fresh sandpaper on here so it's nice and sharp and it won't burn. And the way I hold it is I put these right sides together, and now I'm going to clean up this skive. Now when I do this, all of my sanding marks are going to be running parallel with every edge. Always. I will not have any sanding marks going this way, ever. I'm always going parallel with the edge. So if you've got sanding marks going this way, those are wrong. Keep it parallel with the edge and kind of lean your head over like this, and that way you can see how thin you're getting the edge at first. Once you get the edge exactly where you need it, you can straighten back up and even out that 5-in-1 skive. have 3 sets of counters, skived and sanded and ready to go. You may have noticed when I was making them, you might have seen me stop and feel the edges every now and then. This is a valuable thing to learn when you're shaping anything. Learn to see and look with your fingers as much as your eyes. So touch it, run your hands across it and feel what's going on. Don't just look at it and go, oh, that looks good, and you're done. Feel it. Bend it. If you need it to bend, then bend it and see if it does bend. And feel it with your hands and see it with your hands and make sure everything is right. That's what it looks like from the back side. I've got a nice wide skive here at the bottom so that it will bend up around when I last it. I have just a regular old skive here, probably 3/4 of an inch wide. It will be trimmed later. And then this one, I didn't widen that skive at all, but I did make it pretty thin up here so I can sew through it. At the very end, I turned it over and did just a really light sand on this side. I'm not trying to get it perfectly sanded. You'll see spots where it's sanded and spots where it's not. Doesn't matter. All I wanted to do was rough up that surface just a little bit so that when I'm lasting, it will accept water. And when the person wears it and they sweat, it will absorb that moisture. As most of you know, I sell lasts, and I have 14 different last models now that I keep in stock all the time. When I first bought this business almost 4 years ago, it came with some lasts and 2 last shelves. And I quickly ran out of space, and my husband Dale built me 2 more last shelves. I'm standing on one of them. But then, as you can see, they are absolutely stuffed full of last. And I'm always smashing my fingers trying to get the last crammed in there. So this past week, my husband had 2 weeks off work, and he spent 1 whole week of his time off work building me 3 new last shelves. And I sincerely hope that this is going to be enough, because I don't have any more room. I just climb those shelves like a monkey. Anyway. If anybody ever calls me to order last and you hear a great big thump, then you'll know that I just fell off the last shelves. On the days I know I'm getting a last order and I know that I'm going to be climbing last shelves, I always wear athletic shoes because it is much more likely that I slip and fall off when I'm wearing leather-soled boots and climbing metal shelves. See? Oh. Hello, Dale.
Hey.
Tell us how hard you've been working.
Well, this took me Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, partly Saturday, right? We painted some Saturday.
Yep.
And then a little bit today to get these completed. Tuesday, I had to haul hay all day. So, if anybody wants to make these, they're $5,000 each per bar. And there's 10 bars, so that's $50,000 per shelf.
Oh. My turn. Oh, I almost dropped that. Good job. Oh, yes, they are. We got five right there. Yeah.
Oh, kind of spread out. Eggs in a basket is.
Oh yeah, I forgot about eggs in the basket.
Now she
Now she knew what's
pigs in the pen.